Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 5, Episode 1 of Apple TV's Slow Horses entitled Bad Dates. So this show has been one of the most consistently sharp spy thrillers on TV, with Gary Oldman as Jackson Lamb, and a rotating cast of misfits at Slough House. We've had a few consistent ones, but we've had some others kind of come in and move out. And with this premiere, we're off to a strong start. An opening that sets the tone for what looks like a politically charged, tightly wound season. So let's dive right into talking about this episode. And this episode kicks off as every season does, showing us the crime that's going to kind of be the jumping off point for this season's plot. We see a man get a bag out of the back of a van, and he opens fire in, I don't really know what this place was, a shopping center, but then it looked like it had apartments around. I don't know. But we later learned that it's a place called Abbotsfield. I looked this up. It's a fictional place for it's a real thing, but it's fictional within the context of like London. Like there's not a London, neighborhood called Abbotsfield, at least not in my very brief search. But the guy there, he unloads on everyone, kills 11 before being killed by another assassin who had the high ground, like Anakin Skywalker. And that assassin drives off in the same van that the original mass shooter pulled his bag from that had the rifle in it. We later learned the original shooter is a guy named Rob True, and Rob's first victim in Abbotsfield was a guy stumping for London mayoral candidate Zafar Jaffrey. You know why I said Joffrey. Don't give me shit. Don't put in the fucking comments. You know why I said Joffrey. Leave it alone. Zafar Jaffrey, and he's played by Nick Mohammed of Ted Lasso fame. Additionally, we also learned that True was a staunch supporter of Jaffrey's opponent, a guy named Dennis Gimble. Now, to me, the opening scene felt like a classic cleanup job, right? Like Rob True, he's hired or convinced to do this original mass shooting in Abbotsfield. And then the second guy is hired to clean or erase the evidence by taking out Rob. That was evident to me right away. As the episode progresses, we learn about the nature of Rob and presumably the person who killed him, what their relationship was like. But that was immediate impressions how I felt after the opening scene. And it's a chillingly efficient setup. Immediately signals that the season is going to revolve around calculated, politically motivated violence. And I mean, that could go really well given the current political climate here in the States. Like, I think the Gimble character is likely meant to be some sort of like the Donald Trump of this pairing. And like I said, this could be a really smart assessment and commentary on the divisive and violent politics taking place right here in the United States today. On the other hand, it could come off really clumsy, ham-fisted, and insensitive, especially given that it was filmed prior to a pretty prominent political murder that just happened here in the States last week, but now the show is airing right during the aftermath of it. So it's a weird, it's a risky decision, I think, to still air this. Like it could end up feeling too close to home, and it could also end up feeling like y'all weren't even trying to make this. But they didn't know what the climate was going to be here at this time when the show was released, but. You know, supposedly this same climate is why Apple delayed Jessica Chastain's new show, Savant. Interesting decision, since after this first episode of Slow Horses, I'm kind of wondering why they didn't push this back too. But I mean, it's different. Savant is trying to find an audience. This show's on its 5th season. It's already got a following. It's not even set here in the United States. So maybe that's why they didn't care. But I'm interested to see how this plays out. You know, if the situation hadn't just happened last week, I'm not saying his name on purpose just because I don't want my video to get flagged with no bullshit. I'm not trying to end up like Kimmel, but if that hadn't happened, I think this season would have been it would have had a large chance of success. But I feel like just the way this country feels right now, that there's a chance people could lash out at this season because of that. But we'll see. They clearly have not an agenda, but they have a point in basing the story around this. I wonder what kind of point they're going to try to make. Meanwhile, Roddy is out in the street. He's dancing to Simply Irresistible. I haven't heard that song in a while. I feel like that's from the 80s. So, I don't feel like I'm pretty sure it is. But that's where I remember it from when I was a kid. But the same van that fled the shooting that fled the scene of the mass shooting almost runs Roddy down. And he's saved by Shirley. And she swears that the driver sped up and was trying to intentionally hit Roddy. Knowing what we saw in the opening scene from what the people in that van were up to, it's hard not to take her seriously, but here's where the tension lies. Like, everyone else in Slough House think Shirley's overreacting, and they have a good reason to. Like, a lot of the Shirley scenes in this episode are meant to showcase how on edge she is and how much she's struggling to cope with the death of Marcus after last season. And she brings her concerns about this attempted hit and run of Roddy to Lamb, and Lamb replies with a line that he says no less than 17 times in this episode: "Fuck off." But he's actually right, though. Like, again, we, the audience, get it, but Slauhouse can't investigate every suspicious car that nearly clips Roddy Ho. But the audience knows that Shirley might be onto something because we know what was going on with those people in that van, even if she is carrying trauma from last season's ambush. Emma Flight returns this season, and she's brought to the crime scene and is given the rundown by a local cop who we later learn is this, like, I guess, I don't think this is just a joke that they're just like, hey, let's talk shit about this guy. I think this is going to matter. Like, this guy is going to be on the same forum or some shit that that the Bass Bird that Rob True was on. But this cop, he has a pretty gross reputation. He's nicknamed Fuckability Phil because he ranked suspects by their fuckability-ness. Emma quickly picks up that this mass shooting wasn't as simple as it looks. This guy didn't just kill himself. We learned that Rob True was hanging out in an incel forum, and Emma suspects and then later confirms that True did not kill himself after the mass shooting, but was murdered, which of course we already knew. Like I said earlier, if this season leans into political assassination and incel culture, and it looks like it is, it's gonna feel pretty timely. Let's see. After it's discovered that True was a Dennis Gimble fan, Claude Whalen, also returning this season, goes to warn the two candidates that the shooting was politically motivated and that the shooter was a fan of Gimble's. And a few interesting things happen in this scene. Interesting / noteworthy. For starters, Jaffrey's chief of staff is this big fucking black guy. He's mistaken for a bodyguard by Whalen, showing us that Whalen just still is not that great at the job, which was something that we discussed last season. Speaking of which, I've covered all 4 of the previous seasons on Slow Horses, so do your due diligence and get caught up on one mic as well. Secondly, we learn that Gimble's wife is a journalist who once called for Whalen's resignation with a pretty clever James Bond pun. The James Bondage, I thought that was funny. Third, when Gimble learns that the shooter supported him, Jaffrey makes this smirk. Like he's pleased. I wouldn't say it's like, oh, I'm glad my plan worked type of thing, but it was like this works to my advantage kind of reaction. And his chief of staff then looks at him kind of like, the fuck? So there's something going on there. We obviously don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure that's going to come to light. But those are all things that we're going to want to keep in mind going forward. Back at Slough House, Shirley pushes pretty hard for a gun to protect herself. She's convinced, again, that the van attack on Roddy was intentional. She's worried that these people might come back. Again, she's mainly struggling to get through her PTSD revolving around what happened in the season 4 finale. River even calls her out about this, asking if she's trying to protect them or trying to bring back Marcus, which was that was nasty. That was nasty, man. Like, he didn't have to go there. She keeps escalating, mistaking a bottle for a knife, tackling random guys in a club, even almost getting caught doing drugs, lying about that, try to do it again. Standish, who's normally pretty level-headed, actually starts believing her too. But I think also with Standish, she understands that it's probably more a mental thing and is there for support. And I think it's probably more of that and less of like, I really think somebody's trying to kill Roddy. I like how the show is walking this tightrope. Like, on one hand, Shirley's overreacting, but on the other hand, we know that she's probably not wrong. But, let me know what you think in the comments about how this whole Shirley thing is played out. Like, originally, I thought the show didn't see her behavior as an overreaction. And I was like, well, everybody else is right not to believe her. She's overreacting. But I really like how it kind of evolved into this is how she's struggling to cope. So let me know what you thought about the Shirley stuff. Back to Emma, she finds a casing a little too conveniently, if you ask me. But thankfully, the show confirms it was left on purpose by the assassin, which was much better than what it looked like in the moment, which was that a pro would just leave evidence lying around. And I was fully prepared to get on camera and shit on that scene. So I'm glad that they were on their shit and were like, oh, why would somebody do that? Oh, he probably did it on purpose. Good, because that's what I was hoping. Emma and I don't know who this woman Devin is exactly just yet. I'm assuming she's one of the dogs since Emma is now their new leader, replacing what's-his-face. You guys know the guy. What's-his-face? She uncovers, Devin does, that True was egged on by another incel user in the forum whose account has since been wiped. His final post said that his being True, said that said that he'd pick up the package in the morning and that he'd be seen and heard. This layered setup suggests someone orchestrated that attack. not just some lone wolf, like I mentioned earlier. Emma and Devin relay all this information to Taverner as well, so everybody's fully versed on everything that's going on. The episode closes with Shirley and Standish tailing Roddy, who shockingly is out with a hard 10, man. She's pretty fucking hot. Shirley assumes she's an escort. They follow to a club. Chaos ensues. This is where Shirley tries to tackle the guy carrying the beer. And eventually Roddy and the woman, they leave in a cab, Uber, whatever. She declines sex with him about as seductively and sexily as somebody can. That was a really hot rejection that he got there. But then Roddy gets out of the car because they stopped at his place first. He sends her on, and then as soon as the car pulls off, she texts somebody that Roddy's heading into his flat alone, and then that's where the episode ends. So we can expect episode 2 to open up with somebody trying to get Roddy up in his flat. So final thoughts on this episode. First and foremost, finally, if you're somebody who, I doubt anybody who's watching this has been watching me since I started covering season 1 of Slow Horses, but if one of you is, I know you are happy that Roddy, you're happy for me that Roddy is front and center. I've been saying for years that he's one of the most interesting wild cards in Slough House, and that they could probably build a really entertaining season around him, and it looks like that's what they're going to try to do this season. Overall, I thought the premiere was solid. Not great, not bad, but I kind of generally feel that way about almost every Slow Horses premiere. It's the first episode is very much like, let's get the pieces in place. The mass shooting plot, it feels simple on the surface, like something that's a little bit beneath what even Slough House would address, but we know Slow Horses, it'll unravel into something far more complex and intricate. I love the political edge, the incel commentary, and the shift away from season 4's weaker storyline. I was worried that this season was going to be a continuation of last season, which I didn't really enjoy that one. So I'm glad to see that they're starting something that feels fresh, relevant, and dangerous in all the best ways. So let me know what you thought in the comments. Like the channel, subscribe, share to your social media, join the Discord, join the conversation, and until next week, peace.